All right. Good morning, everyone.
I'm Dave.
May 1st. Happy spring. We have a short meeting today, so we'll let everyone go pretty quickly. We have a meeting tomorrow, a presentation that Jennifer can fill us in on in a little bit, looking at the Comet ag model that her students have done a pilot project on in support of our greenhouse gas inventory and our climate action plan. So that should be a really interesting webinar. We're all invited to join. If you don't have the info for that, I think it was sent out, but if you don't, for some reason, let Don or I know. And Jennifer can talk about that in a minute. Don, any business to start? Just roll, get everyone.
Nope. Yeah, I think I've got most people checked off here as they're entering the room. So I think my attendance is up to date right now.
Okay, great. And we have minutes from last week that were sent out. So any corrections on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Great. Thank you, Steve. A second, anyone?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any objections to accepting the minutes? Please let us know. Speak up, make a racket, raise your hand. Okay, great. So the big kind of item on the agenda for today, other than the quick update as a preview for tomorrow's meeting, is just kind of where we're at with our CAP committee, the Climate Action Plan Committee, and that whole process. Don, you want to start us off with that?
Sure. So we held our first meeting last Friday, a week ago. And just to recap, we have 3 supervisors on the committee. We have Brenda Denal and Ron Knott are on the committee. 3 department heads: Patrice Perry from planning, Wendy Madsen from solid waste, and Ray Jakowski from engineering. There is an open spot for the health department. It hasn't been appointed yet. I believe the head of the health department is on maternity leave, and I believe they will likely be appointed when she comes back. From the task force, we have David and I are on the committee. We have Michael O'Hara from the county EMC. We have Mike Tucker from Columbia Economic Development Corporation, Terrence from CLC, and we have Will Yandick from Green Acres Farm representing the ag community. So that's our committee. We received the email from DEC saying we're starting the grant contract development process, which is a little news to me. It's not your standard contract form where they just send a boilerplate contract and we sign it. It is more of a negotiated process, it appears. So according to the grant, we have grant approval letter. We've actually received what they say is two different grants for $60,000. And the grants are for government operations and a community GHG inventory and a government operations and community climate action plans. So we are covering all 4 of those things. We incorporate, some level of all 4 of those climate action tasks into our project in some way, at some level. So next steps, what we have to do is we have to update an updated work plan and a budget, which we will essentially just copy from our application with some minor adjustments. There have been some adjustments to, we now have a CAC committee in place, so we may make some adjustments to the list of personnel and the list of volunteers that we have working on the plan. Budget is not going to, we have $60,000 from the EC excuse me, $30,000 from the county, and we have to come up with $30,000 worth of in-kind effort from staff, county staff, and volunteers to cover the rest of the match. And as part of the contract negotiations, DEC is going to add any required deliverables along the way. They'll want to see, they'll probably want to place some milestones throughout the 18-month to 2-year process of, they want to see this document at this point, just to make sure that we're making progress and, making good use of the money that they're giving us. So I may want to reach out to some of the task force volunteers that offered to volunteer on this project, just to verify that those anticipated volunteer hours that you're willing to submit are correct, and make some sort of verify the roles that you're interested in performing. Internally, we have to do the regular. We have to supply insurance documents, workman's comp, disability. Our subcontractor, whoever we hire, has to have similar insurance in place. We have to abide by certain service disabled veteran owned business requirements and minority and women owned business requirements. So we have to have some kind of plan in place of how we're going to at least reach out to those types of businesses and see if they can provide some services for us as a consultant.
So Don, just in terms of the work and that's good background. Thank you for that. But in terms of what our next steps are, the CAP committee met last week for the first time to kind of go over all this, to kind of introduce this project, and also to we have a draft scope of work for the RFP that has been developed, that Don developed, that I provided some detailed comments on since Friday, and that we're encouraging the other CAP committee members to comment on so we can develop that further. That then has to go through a process of approvals with the county attorney's office. I'm not sure, the supervisor's office probably, before we can release that for soliciting proposals from contractors. That we understand can take 2 to 3 months, that process of review and approval. So we're really hoping to kind of move our draft forward as quickly as possible, no later than the next meeting, which we're hoping to do in a few weeks. So it'll be like a month from the first meeting. That's the big kind of chunk of work that will help to move the whole thing forward. One other comment on volunteers. I do believe we're going to have a robust group of us and others volunteering. There's in-kind support from Don. I'm not sure if we can use interview time or time of staff that's used in this as in-kind. If so, then I would imagine that would be a lot easier for us to get to the $30,000 match. Is that true?
Yes. And I'm tracking now. Again, we don't have the contract in hand, but according to what I'm reading, as of March 15th, we can start tracking any volunteer time and any staff time that we put into this project. I'm sure that that includes meeting time, any efforts that we put into developing the RFP. So if like Dave, you put in some time into the first draft, so just send me an email and tell me what you did, when you did it, and how much time you put in. So we really want to track that accurately as possible,
right.
to make sure that we any thought you put into this project as a volunteer, please let me know, because I'm gonna keep a spreadsheet and keep track of all of that as of March 15th.
Okay, so we need to communicate that to the CAP committee, who will be doing most of the work right now in the near term, and then key would be tracking professional time by staff, by county staff, because those volunteers will get billed out at a higher rate than just kind of generic volunteers. They'll get billed out at their professional rate, whatever that we decide that will be. And some of us possess expertise in the field, and if we're using that expertise, we can, I think, make an argument that we should be, our rate should, for the volunteer time, should be at a higher level.
I did look into that a little bit, Dave, and I didn't include professional services when I submitted the application, mainly because the requirements for that are large. Okay, you have to document that you are, you have to document that you are an expert. You need resumes and exactly what you're going to do before you actually do it. So I think all the even though you're providing professional level services as a volunteer, I think we have enough time to bill you as just a regular non-professional volunteer. We'll be able to make that match, no problem, Dave.
But I assume for when we're interviewing Wendy Madsen, for example, at Solid Waste, she's providing professional feedback on the solid waste component.
We bill her at her, bill her at her salary rate.
Great.
For sure. Yes. Any employees, yes. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you. So that's where we're at. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of these things. It's a little slow to get going, but we're making progress. We've got the grant. Got a great committee to work on this, and we'll need support from all of you as well. There'll be stakeholder outreach, reviewing and comments on parts of the plan. We'll want to solicit, your support, everyone's support here, and others on those efforts as well. We'll be, depending on how we structure it with the consultant, we'll be, really focused on reaching out to specific members of the community, stakeholders within sectors that have expertise in various areas, from the business community, NGO community, other subject matter experts, so that we can really feel like we've covered the grounds sufficiently in those areas and gotten as much feedback as we can. Sorry, Brenda, I just see your hand is up now.
It's okay. I just wanted to add a couple of very small points. So all of the CAP members have been asked to submit their comments prior to the next CAP meeting. So hopefully, and hopefully not wait till the last minute so that Don has to incorporate them all at the last minute. But we also were working on developing a timeline for the RFP process. And we were also developing a list associated with firms that might be, that we might want to reach out to for the RFP. So I think if there's anyone on this larger committee is aware of professional services that might be either interested or have the capacity or skills to participate in this, the longer the list, the better. We want to get the best consultant we can get.
Great, thank you. Any further comments or questions? Thomas?
Yes, so several towns and villages have climate action plans in place. Will you be using any of those towards this effort?
The short answer is I'm not sure how we're yet going to integrate, correlate, correspond the county CAP with the towns and villages. It's complicated to do it in a way that doesn't, kind of duplicate, overlap, double count, especially on the inventory side. So I don't know, is the short answer. It's something we need to discuss and develop a strategy around how that would work. Jennifer?
Just making the distinction between the government inventories and the community inventory. So are the caps that are out there actually based on community greenhouse gas inventories? I don't know how many towns in the county have actually done them.
Yeah.
Do we know?
I think most of the ones out there are just government ones, from my awareness.
Yeah.
Could we put those documents in a Google Drive so that we'd have them for reference purposes? Would that be an initial step, just to get them in a drive so that they're available for use if it seems appropriate?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great idea. So we should, Tara, do you have a comprehensive list of all the towns and villages that have done them?
I do, yeah. So
Wow.
I can send you that list. I hope it's up to date. I don't think that there's anybody that I've missed, but yeah, and most have submitted for CSC credit too, so.
Great.
Claremont hasn't submitted ours yet, but we did. I finished the greenhouse gas inventory last month, so we just haven't uploaded it yet, so it's coming.
Great.
Great.
And if those are, once they're submitted, they would be available online, right?
I can send you a copy of the ones that I have, and I don't know where you
Okay.
want to store them, but
We'll put them in a Google Drive that folks on, this task force has access to, and the CAP committee has access to, so that we're able to look at them. I think that's a great idea. I mean, that's the place to start, is just to start looking at what's included, how consistent they are from town to town, and then how those data might be useful, maybe just as reference, but maybe there's a way to try to incorporate or integrate those efforts. We just haven't gotten that far yet, but that's a great idea to collect them.
It might also act as a check-in, if our numbers are drastically different, if we do some spot checking, just to see if the numbers align.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the government caps is I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, we're going to be looking at government emissions in county buildings, county, right? So it's not county-wide, it's county government. And so whereas the community inventory is all of Columbia County, as best we can estimate emissions from all sources in the county based on the CDRPC. So having, and it's been a question of mine, like, how does the CDRPC greenhouse gas inventory include or overlap with a more detailed, focused government greenhouse gas inventory? The government emissions should be somehow captured within a broader understanding of what's happening in the county, but we're breaking those out based on, one is kind of I don't know if it's top down, bottom up, but we're like looking in the government at each vehicle and each building, and we're looking at the electric bills and the gas bills, and we're like able to really kind of get into a level of detail that I'm not sure the county gets into. So these are questions we'll have to talk about, but from the county government, we'll cover all those county enterprises, and each town has its own buildings and its own vehicles and its own emissions. So theoretically, I think you could add all that up and get a full picture of municipal emissions, both town, village, and county, and that would just be added, if every town had one. So it's something that we just need to look into and get more up to speed on, but these are really interesting questions around how we're going to present the information, how comprehensive it'll be, how we can encourage other towns to also do something in their town on the government side, so we have a fuller picture. But we'll start with, I don't know how many, do we know roughly how many towns and villages out of the 20 odd in the county have, I think it's 22 with villages or something. How many have done them?
a lot more have done inventories than have done climate action plans. So,
Right.
or at least government inventories. So I would say maybe half of them have done an inventory, or maybe even more. And then maybe like 25% or so have done a government climate action plan. So I think that's
Great.
probably all right.
Well, that'll be really interesting to look at. Thanks for raising that point, Tom. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? All right, well, let's pivot to Jennifer. Do you want to give just a quick overview of what you've done and what is happening tomorrow?
Sure.
Thanks.
We're we finished the primary report. It just needs a couple more edits, I think, but we sent out a draft to the people coming tomorrow. And then tomorrow we're going to do a PowerPoint presentation with my students in the morning. And Dawn already passed that information out. And if any of you that haven't responded yet are going to come, just send me an email and let me know, just so I have a sense of who's on the line, since it's not a restrict there. I don't have it set up so that you have to get permission to come in, because I didn't want to have to be dealing with that while I'm presenting. So yeah, so we're going to do our presentation, and I think it's not only looking at the emissions, but also assessing, how effective various strategies are for mitigation, and then thinking through a little bit how what we did is relevant for a more kind of standardized approach. So we'll get into that a little bit tomorrow, hopefully, in discussion.
Great. As folks remember, I'm sure we part of our effort here is to dig deeper on the land use side than the CDRPC, the standard kind of assessment does, and that's Jennifer and her group at BARD have been working on the ag side, and Don has been working with CAFRI, which is the Forestry Research Institute out of ESF, on collecting data on the forest and land cover side, which I think will also be really interesting. We're going to figure out how we can integrate analyses like this. The BARD students did a kind of a pretty robust, I would say, but a pilot scale of this, kind of test the concept. And we'll be doing some version of that more comprehensively as part of the real project or the full project, and then figuring out how to incorporate these extra pieces with the CDRPC a greenhouse gas inventory that we are using for our CAP will be a process. And so this is kind of one of those important steps along the process of learning. And we can't be more thankful, because we had this opportunity to really dig deep. This is not just a cursory look. This is a deep dive into this model. It's a very sophisticated ag model, and I'm excited about tomorrow's call. So thanks for that, and encourage folks to join if they can. Brenda?
So I just wondered what the distribution was for the invitation, because I was thinking this might be something Will would enjoy. And I just wanted to make sure he was included on the distribution list. And I don't know if maybe other members of the CAP committee would be interested in it, or is it, Jennifer, do you prefer to have a smaller group at this point, or does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, we invited Will Yandick, or not Will Yandick, what am I saying? Jim Yanger, is that what his name is? And there's right now about maybe a dozen people that are going to be on the call, and I mean, I want to feel confident that my students are going to do a great job, but you know how it is. If there were 30 people on the call, that might make them more nervous. So, and the document that I sent out yesterday still is in draft form. I want to make sure that it doesn't go out as a final thing. Next week or at some point soon, I will send out like a finalized version of the report, so we can certainly distribute that far and wide. I mean, what do you think, Dave?
I think we should invite folks to just listen in if they can. It's last minute. He's a farmer. He probably is too busy, but it's a courtesy.
Yeah, sure. It'd be great to have Will. I know Will, and he'll be kind.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that, David, or do you want me to do that?
I'll do that
Okay.
right after.
Okay.
I'll forward it. And then I think for the rest of the CAP committee, perfectly happy to invite them. We could do that. There will be will be a final report, which we certainly will share. We can even discuss at our next meeting kind of what its purpose is, so people understand that it's it's a pilot and we're testing the concept, because they'll have to be.
There's some common distribution. You've hit the supervisors, you've hit the people we haven't hit are really the county staff people who are less directly connected to ag. So
Yeah.
I think with the exception of Will, I'm okay with the
Okay.
current distribution.
Okay, I'll forward it right after.
What
our
do you
call.
think, Don? Do you agree? You're muted, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's muted.
I was just checking to see if I had sent it out to the CAP committee. I don't see where I did. So, yeah, I think Will would be a great addition. If you want me to send it out to the entire CAP, I can do that too.
I think we can leave it with Will at this point. We've got enough overlap between the two lists if we add Will, because it's his specific discipline. That's why I think it's important to have him there.
I'll do that, and I'll just give him a quick rundown and kind of contextualize what this is, so he knows
Great.
that he doesn't have to join. He'll still get all the information and but why we're doing it. That's great. Okay, any other questions on that? All right.
Will it
Don?
be recorded, Jennifer? So,
I can record it if you would like me to. I think it doesn't last forever. It's 6 months or something is how long the storage lasts on the Zooms that we do from Bard.
but yeah, I would, because I am going to be out of the office tomorrow, so I won't be able to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no,
If it's recorded, I would.
someone, maybe Dave, remind me, because I might forget to hit the record button.
Appreciate that.
I will do that. Okay, so we don't have much else to cover. We can certainly do a little round robin in a minute of anything that folks have in their communities that they want to update folks on. I wanted to just make a couple comments on what's happening more out of our more globally, more nationally and globally. There are some, obviously we're hearing news all the time of rollbacks of climate efforts at the national level. And I think that this underscores the importance of the work that we and thousands, tens of thousands of communities around the country and the world are continuing to engage on. We are going to continue to make progress. These changes in policies, many of them are being challenged in court, and I believe many of them will be stopped, halted, not because of the fact that the administration has a different perspective on what their policy preferences are, and they have every right to that, but that the process by which they go about it often runs afoul of the Administrative Procedure Act or NEPA or congressional approval requirements, and those acts will often end up being reversed in court. It takes a while for that to happen. So just wanted to give a quick update. It's important for us to know what's happening outside of our context. Just this week, the National Climate Assessment, which is a mandated assessment of the national climate progress, which is done every so often, every 5 years or so. The authors, who are expert scientists from around the country, who then submit this to the international bodies that are looking at how each country is doing in its commitments under the Paris Agreement and under the Climate Change Convention. These are very important informational tools as well for us to use, for scientists to use and others to use throughout the country. Well, those authors were all fired this week, and that assessment is in question. It's unclear whether and how that will go forward. There was a Climate Smart Commodities grant program, which was $3 billion or so that was allocated under the Inflation Reduction Act in the previous administration, and many, if not all, of those contracts and funding has been withdrawn. Some of it will be redirected under another name under the USDA toward programs that, these are programs that are paying for farmers to plant trees, to create more resilience on their farms, to cover crop, to protect riparian areas and other parts of their farms. These are very tangible projects that are helping to encourage the development of agroforestry, alternative orchard crops, to expand the robustness of our agricultural system in the face of climate change. So those programs are either at risk or eliminated. And I know a lot of farmers personally a lot of organizations who invested, they invested in these programs, and now that funding's gone, and it really is a whiplash effect out there. We will continue. There are a lot of private sources of funding that are continuing to push ahead and try to raise, make up for that, but that's a big shortfall. About many websites, USDA, EPA, FEMA, have been either scrubbed or threatened to be scrubbed of any reference to climate change. These informational sources are essential because they're considered pretty objective, right? They're not coming from some biased perspective of this is, government scientists who are not political, not partisan. They go from administration to administration, historically have carried through as civil servants. And they are some of the best scientists in the world who are sacrificing some of their pay for working at a government salary. A lot of those, that information, which we all rely on, when you do research, you often go to those websites, rely on the data sources that are there. A lot of those websites are being scrubbed. I did just look at the US EPA website. I searched climate change. It seems like a lot of that's still up. So I don't know how much of the data in the background has been removed, but the policy under the executive order is to try to remove all of that. I don't know if that's happened or not. Those are just some of the example. There's been a lot in FEMA, which is concerning. A lot of reduction in staff, reduction in any reference to climate-related words and phrases like climate change and climate resilience, and significant cuts in staff and funding for FEMA, which is kind of our frontline response to disaster, obviously. And as you can look at, the insurance companies publish this information, the number of climate-related disasters is on the increase. And so many of the funding and the experts that know how to respond to disasters will be less equipped to help out in our communities throughout the country. The Office of Special Presidential Envoy for Climate and foreign service staff at the State Department that work on climate change, that office has been removed, and the climate-related foreign service officers working at the State Department, that office also has been shut down. Again, whether it's being shut down permanently, whether everyone's being fired, or whether that's the press release, and ultimately some of those people hang on and are able to continue that work quietly, is a question. And again, a lot of these things are being challenged in court because Congress approves funding for these programs, and it's unclear at best whether a president can just choose to stop funding certain things that have been previously allocated. The line item veto was something that was challenged up to the Supreme Court 20 years ago, 25 years ago. The idea that a president could cut funding by just kind of vetoing certain line items in a budget, and that was not held valid. Congress has the constitutional authority to allocate funds. And so, again, these things are in process, but I just, it's important to know what's happening and look closely at it. A lot of this information comes from a tracking website on the Natural Resources Defense Council website, and they're tracking the by sector, the specific over 200 actions and all of the litigation that is active against those actions as well, and they try to update that. So those are just, there are many more, but I'll just stop there. It's just important for us to separate the noise from what's actually happening and follow through on what the ultimate effect is. In my opinion, none of this is good, but there's a very broad resistance against these changes, and I think many of them will be reversed, probably very quietly, but reversed. We will continue doing our work locally, everyone in their community doing their work, and hopefully we don't lose much ground in the next few years. I just wanted to add that. We had some time. A couple hands are up. Jennifer, I think, and then Brenda.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we were actually a little bit freaking out in my course because the tool that we're using, Comet Farm, is a USDA tool, and it's housed at Colorado State University, and they're the ones that own the supercomputers that it runs on. But the interface is a USDA website, and so we were kind of rushing to get our runs done toward the end because we were worried that it might go down, and that's maybe something we need to take into consideration as we think about how we might use the result. How do we think about this approach going forward?
And I just want to speak to or add to your comment about local action and why it's so important. I do think Columbia County, all counties are required to update their FEMA emergency plans, their hazard mitigation plans every 5 years. And ours is just about finished. The draft is out for public comment. The most substantial changes to the 5-year plan were the embedding of the climate adaptation and resiliency pieces. So at least those pieces, they're not labeled climate, they're labeled the FEMA hazard mitigation plans, but at least those pieces there's a record of those pieces and they're embedded in those plans. So while it was a total pain in the neck and 15 months to get it updated, I think it was, given everything else that's going on, it's great that it happened when it did and that we could get that information preserved.
Sorry, I was muted. Steve, thanks, Brenda, for that.
Along those lines, Don, do you know offhand, and forgive me if I've asked this question before, whether the grant for the hazard mitigation plan that came to the county was reimbursable, or was that paid up front? You're muted.
Don, you're
Don,
muted.
Yeah, that I don't know, Steve. I don't know what the reimbursement process was.
We're working on a list, Steve, of grants, to understand the status of some of those funding sources. So I'll add that to the list.
Okay, yeah, because I'm curious, because, as a few of you have mentioned that they've said that if there's any wording about climate change in any of these grants, they may not be approved.
Tom?
Yes, I had trouble accessing the county hazard mitigation plan. Does anyone know where that is?
There was a public notice that went out with a link, and I can send them to you. But Tom, I think the public comment period has expired, so the link may no longer be working.
Right, that's the problem. So so what you're saying is there is no way the public can access this information at this point?
I don't think I think it was it was accessible for 30 days, and I believe the public comment period expired on April 15th. That's what's in my brain. And then now it goes in for amendment if necessary, and then it will be published again. But I would think the draft would still be up. Do you want me to check and see if I can find it for you?
Exactly, because it was,
Okay.
I looked at it after the April 15th deadline. I couldn't find it, but if you have a draft, I would love to see it.
I'll send it to Don and he can send it around.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and according to their schedule, I'm looking at here, it said by the end of April, the Board of Supervisors would vote to submit the plan to New York State.
That's not on schedule.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you just, and I don't want to, this is not defensive. This is just the state of affairs. Because we have, 23 municipalities involved, that not all of them responded within the allowable timelines. We had 3 towns that were, that responded 6 to 12 weeks after the deadlines. So that pushes everything out. But in this case, it was not the consultant or the timeline. It was the response times of the individual towns to, to complete their data. I know because I was the border collie calling those supervisors trying to get their data.
I don't know who just barked. But that
I
was
did.
cool. Oh, that's great.
Well, everything's so serious. I thought we needed a lift.
We needed a little bark. Yeah, we
Right.
should all get out on our roofs and howl every now and then. I think that's
I love that. I love that bumper sticker. Wag more, bark less. But it's a bark time, right?
every now and then you got to bark.
Right.
Well, I mean, yeah, we will. We're going to continue working soberly, reasonably, rationally, having conversations. But the point is, like, every conversation you have that's based in based in some understanding of what's actually happening and not the noise, I think is helpful. All of the things we do cumulatively in our communities is huge when it's added up. So, continuing that, this is what I tell my kids. This is when I go talk to student groups, this is what I talk about. But we're not gonna stop working on climate change because there's some efforts to try to undermine the progress that we're making. We're going to plow ahead, keep moving, because it's inevitable. The world is shifting. We're all shifting to renewables. We're electrifying the grid. These things you don't stop these things. These are larger than just a policy shift, because this is where our economy is going. The work we're doing now will set us up really well under this cap to continue that work really robustly in our area. And we serve as a model. So that's my pep talk, I guess. Brenda you can bark and we can all howl. But keep up the good work, everyone. I don't think we have anything else, but we'll just open it up real quick if there's any updates that folks have in their communities. Kara.
Hey guys. So this Saturday, CLC has their sort of open house at the office in Chatham, where we're going to be launching information and maps about the countywide conservation plan, and we'll have the staff and consultants there to ask questions. We've done some GIS mapping of the county to sort of target where some good places would be. So please spread the word and come on by. Can't remember the times exactly off the top of my head, which is really bad, but that's what we're doing for the CLC. For Copake, we planted, David, you'll be very happy, we planted 13 trees that we got through a grant, right, from the county soil department, county soil and water. I always get the acronym wrong. And because we wanted to create a shade barrier right by town hall, so that was done and it looks great. May 10th, Taconic Talks, which Copake, I think Ankrum and maybe Hillsdale are co-sponsoring. There's another talk on trees, and this particular topic is on the forest in your backyard and guide to managing your own woodlands. And you can find that if Don, I think that was already sent to you and probably put on the calendar. I think then we're doing energy audits for our town park building and our town garage. And I think that's it. So yeah, we're still fighting the good fight and trying to keep our spirits up, even though they go down. It's a lot like peaks and valleys, but it's all, we're excited what we're doing.
Yeah, that's great. A lot of good stuff. You may have mentioned this. Did you mention the May 17th?
Oh, yes, right. No, I did not. Taconic, so the Taconic Community Forest, which CLC is coordinating, that is still, oh, Terrence, you're right. Terrence just reminded me that the CLC event is Saturday, not tomorrow. I'm already thinking today is Friday. Yes, and on May 17th, CLC is hoping to plant, I can't remember exactly how many trees, but it's a lot.
I think it's
like over
1,500.
Yeah, it's something like 1,500 trees in the community forest. And so go to CLC's website. I'll send that to Don as well if we don't already have that in there. But we need as many volunteers as possible on May 17th. And I think you'll be fed and provided hydration. So as many people as we can get to come out there would be absolutely wonderful because we want to get that community forest it's not quite finalized yet, but we're doing the plantings on May 17th. So that's pretty exciting stuff for May, right? Woo.
Pretty exciting stuff. Okay, Tara.
I just wanted to mention on that, and anybody that's doing any tree planting, that the DEC has this 25 million trees by 2033 initiative that they're trying to do. So they're like tracking all of the tree plantings that are happening, basically kind of getting all the data for things that are, you know, projects like this that are happening, and kind of pulling it all together and putting it on a map. So just check that out if you haven't seen that yet. It's pretty cool. I'll put a link in the chat.
All right. Any other updates? All right, keep planting trees, guys. This is the time to do it. Time is running short. The spring push. Plant your gardens, plant your trees, plant your shrubs. Go out and enjoy spring. And some of you will see tomorrow morning for the BARD presentation, and otherwise we'll run into each other soon, and if not, in a month. Thank you all.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Good luck tomorrow.